I think I'm live now. Hello, everybody. I just had the most wonderful networking call with someone new, and I got so excited and so pumped when I asked her, like, "Oh, do you know human design? Do you know what that is, by the way?" And she's like, "I heard about it like a month ago, and I thought it was pretty interesting and forgot about it." And so I got like, "Oh my gosh, let me tell you about human design, why I love it, and what it did for me." And not to sound culty, but it was life changing. But the thing is, like, it doesn't you don't have to do anything with it. Like for me, what I really found out with human design is that it just asserted and stressed what I already knew to be true, but what was buried. Like when you're a kid and you learn more about yourself and what you like and how you express yourself, and you just more intrinsically know and more authentically express yourself, and then people will come and tell you otherwise, right? And you learn not to trust yourself, not to trust your instincts, listen to authorities, follow the prescribed path and expectations, and all of that is put on you. And so you kind of get buried in your authenticity. And then as adults, with the trends of self-development and self-care and finding yourself and shadow work and all of that, you basically unlearn and you get back to that original state. That's really what it is, which is sad. So I hope with all of the cycle breakers and so much work that's been done on social media of people sharing their experiences and having like a big sister energy to inspire younger generations to not fall prey to all of these assessments and noise that doesn't know you, cannot ever know you as you know yourself. And if you don't have the capacity and aren't allowed the space to actually get to know yourself, then, well, that's very lonely, that feels very fake, and that just leads to then having a midlife crisis. And so let's avoid that. And anyway, so for me, human design is something that helped me understand myself better, but also it's not a thing that tells you how to do things. It's not prescriptive in that way. It's just more descriptive. It's like the manual to yourself that you were never really given. Sometimes, especially my neurodivergent fellows, I'm late diagnosed ADHD. When I got my diagnosis, went straight into what it actually means. I felt so seen. I finally felt like I wasn't this weird broken alien. I didn't know how to human. I suddenly had this community of people who shared similar things and similar symptoms and ways of viewing the world with a neurodivergent brain. And for me, human design was a bigger scope that explained certain ways that manifested in ways that felt like I was being heard and felt seen and validated, right? So that's what it is. And somebody described it also to me as it is a way to teach other people how to love yourself, including yourself. Like a manual of sorts. And again, with manuals, I usually don't read them. So you're free to ignore it or take whatever you want and build on it, because a lot of people already follow naturally, especially if you're one of the more sacral types. So if you don't know what human design is, let me just briefly explain it to you. It's like a modality, like people love astrology, or anagrams and stuff like that. And human design has different kind of these disciplines and merges it together. There was this guy called Ra. Oh, I always mess up his name. Ra. Oh my god. Anyway, and he in 87, my birth year, he actually kind of channeled this message and then wrote it down. There's 5 types, and the main ones are generators. Then it's manifesting generators, and together they make up like 66% of people. And they are usually sacral. So that means they have a defined motor system. They're very yes or no. Does it give you satisfaction? Is it something that sparks joy? And then you can keep consistently at it, which is what most people expect, especially in the business world. You do the 9 to 5, you show up regularly, consistently every day. If it's still passionate, you can keep going. If it doesn't, then things just get out of alignment, right? And so it's usually this gut feeling saying yes or no. Like somebody described it to me as like a gut punch. And you are responsive. So that's perfect for social media. Somebody asks a question, you answer. You ask a question, they answer. You post something, people respond to it. Like somebody sends an invitation, gives you an idea, you respond to it. It's just back and forth, this networking, but in a consistent way, right? And then there's projectors, which are not having a sacral, so everybody else is non-sacral, and they need a lot more rest. They're much more like filtered in the way they perceive the world. So they're the wise sage person. They see how things are run, and then they will give their wisdom, but they need to be invited to do it. Like they can't just go and give unsolicited advice, which social media oftentimes is. So you need to be able to have people that actually value your intake, your specific talent of reading people, of reading situations, of like seeing a bigger picture. That's a projector, and they need a lot more rest because they do not have this defined sacral. And then there are manifestors like me, which are like 9% of people. So like 9 out of 100 people might be manifestors, right? And so they're rare. And the thing is with us is we are the initiators. So we're the people that come out of left field, drop truth bombs left and right, or start stuff when you didn't even see them coming. You're like, wait, what? And just trigger people in some way, good or bad, to make a change. We're here to start stuff, to disrupt things, to question things, to build new things or reinvent ways things are being done, right? So like shake the system. And that is of course jarring to a lot of people. So a lot of people are very reluctant to do that. I mean, we have the lizard brains telling us we need to be familiar and in the comfort zone, and somebody comes in and questions everything. There's like two ways this can go. Either you're inspired and kind of magnetized to that person, helping you get on that path, or you will be rejecting it, usually very violently. And with manifestors, the thing is, we don't have to do anything. I can just roll up and step into a room and I will piss off a person without doing anything. I just come in and I breathe. And people are like, oh, I hate her guts. And then other people will be like, oh my God, like she's so fascinating. And I didn't do anything. So it's a very energetic thing for all the types as well. And then there's a reflector, which is 1% of people, 1 in 100. And they are completely open to all the influences. So basically, they will amplify and feel what the heck is going on. So what all of the other types created. Like the manifestor starts a new thing, the generator takes over, makes it consistent and builds it up, and the manifesting generator will come up with new angles to improve and to build it and expand it. And the projector will like assess the progress, and then the reflector comes in and says like, all right, so this is the summary of what has been going on, where we are heading, how this is feeling, how we are going about it, and helps basically keep at it or align it, but it just gives their unadulterated view of everything. And then the initiation starts again. So like it's this beautiful cycle of co-creation, and everybody has their own strengths, right? Because like in society, we're kind of idolizing people who are sacral, right? Who are consistent, who are constantly at it, who are constantly showing up and being present everywhere, being on social. And it's tiring, like for some types, the sacral types, it's great. It feels really natural. But for me, it will suck my energy. And the thing is, depending on your type, let's just talk about my type, manifestors, we have like 80% rest cycles, which means we're just rejuvenating, regenerating, re-energizing. It's like when you pull a string and you want to shoot like a bow, you can't just like pull it and like let it go. Like it will just like crash, like the arrow will not go anywhere. It's like we need to have that rest time, like this almost tension where you want to do something, you feel something's coming, you want to start, and people will tell you, don't be lazy, like you have to show up all the time, you have to like chip at it, you have to, that advice that works for a lot of people doesn't work for the other types. And so for me, I have to really rest, and that means not being busy, not having to constantly show up or schedule or do little things every day. Sometimes I just need to do nothing for a couple months. For me, usually that happens when I travel, where I can like soak up so many impulses, so many new ideas, and it just marinates in my brain until one day I just get this idea, which is then different from an urge. So manifestors act on an urge, which is like this, like it almost is like a lightning bolt epiphany moment, but it is part of action and a surge of energy. Suddenly I turn into this energizer bunny, and I will like Sonic the Hedgehog, like run and do things in like the shortest amount of time with like a huge impact. People are like a bundle of energy just like hit you out of nowhere, and people are like either get out of the way or get on board, right? So like it's very intense to hang with manifestors, especially if they're hit with that surge, this urge to do something, and it feels so intense, like your entire body needs to do it, needs to move, needs to make it happen. And usually it's the most bizarre, wild, illogical thing, which makes it really hard because you cannot use logic, and logic is never the way to go for any of the types. Like the head is not ever the authority that helps you make the best decisions. Every type has their own ways of making decisions, and every person is very specifically set up in a way they make decisions. So like if you want to get into human design, you just find a free chart online, super easy, type in your name if you want, but type in your birth date, including the time. If you don't know the time, find like try 4 different points of the day, or like if you know it's like in the morning or in the afternoon when you were born, type that in, and your birthplace, and it will just spit out a chart for you for free. There's lots of websites. And then I would just do Google deep dive or get in touch with an expert. I know a few if you actually want to have a reading done. I don't do them. I am not an expert. I just love it. I just hype it. But then just do that. Look at your type, look at your authority, which is basically the center in your body, like a chakra. That is the main decision maker, where you can trust yourself innately that it will all fall into place if you just listen to that instead of the outside noise, instead of the logic. You know, your gut feeling, and that gut feeling is different depending on your authority. Like for sacral beings, it might be the sacral, like the gut punch, yes or no. Then there's ego, which is really rare, which is basically the heart. You follow your desire. I want it, so I'm gonna go get it. And because it's the ego, it feels selfish, but that's okay, because you don't know what the ripple effect will be. Especially for manifestors, it's usually inspiring somebody to do something, even if it's just to show up more authentically, to just go for it, go for that job, apply for it regardless, you know, just be having the audacity to try and to dream big. You know, that's usually the thing. You don't focus on other people. You can look up other people's charts to help understand them better and love them better, and just give them space and compassion. Because when you realize, okay, I'm a manifestor, but you're a generator, so you can set boundaries in a more healthy way, you can communicate in a better way, you can understand the person. So if they're constantly asking you questions and I'm over here getting really, really angry, that means I'm out of alignment. That means I'm not operating in my design. Basically, there's like these self and not self themes, which your chart will also spit out for you. It basically is that emotion that will tell you like a warning signal, what's going on. Are you on track or are you off track, really? And every design, every type has a different way of doing that. So it's really, really cool when you actually analyze it from that. It's a way of reframing it, when you just realize, oh, I'm not, me being angry all the time doesn't mean I have like an anger issue, right? It just means I'm a manifestor and something is in my way, something is off kilter, and that is anger. And it's not just a regular emotion you have, because everybody has anger, or like frustration, like sacral types, or bitterness, like projectors, I think. No, it's just, it's a different way of feeling. It's more of an underlying current of your status quo in life as it is currently. That is a warning signal or a way to go signal, right? And so like it's really, really cool when you suddenly have these guidelines, these signposts to help you live in your best energy, to have like a high vibration, or to assess what is going on that is maybe off, so you can like, you know, tweak and turn a little bit, but you have a way to look for it specifically. You don't feel so completely lost and overwhelmed. And of course, you know, you can have all of your different tools anyway, you know, like breathing exercises, meditation, workouts, whatever. None of that is negated by human design. But I love how it just helps you figure out about yourself, live more truthfully, also be more curious about yourself. I feel like we lose that a lot. Generally, when we're adults, we kind of lose that curiosity because people are like, this is the way, you need to do it, don't question. it's just, curiosity really just helps make your life better. Like for me, I always just love going on walks, and then I have to remind myself to be present. And that again shows up differently for everybody. Some people like to be present by enhancing their senses, like feeling the grass, touching the leaves, feeling the wind on your face, or listening to the sounds. Like, can you spot the bird? How many birds do you hear? Do you hear an airplane in the distance? Like to ground yourself. And your human design will actually also tell you what are the best ways for you to do that. And that's really interesting. Like this month, I actually learned more about environment. So like some charts will give you the basic information, most charts really, but then some charts will go deeper into it, and they're all free. So it's really cool. Try out different websites with that. The results will be the same, just more information might be given. And so for me, there's environment. What else is there? Like I actually started doing research specifically on my charts. Don't ask me about other types. I don't know that much. But I started treating myself like a project that I can research. And it is mind-boggling when you really dive deeper into it, because it will go into astrology, like different planets, and all of different planets obviously rule different parts of your experience. The way you communicate, Mercury, your main purpose in life, your sun, how you have relationships with people, Venus, and all of that. But it splits it into like a left and right. So there's a design and there's a personality. Let me just show you the centers. Right, so like this is how it looks like when you have a human design chart. This is just, you have the head, which is made up of the ajna and the head. So that's the mind overall. Then you have your throat, which is defined with all manifestors and I think manifesting generators. Then you've got the heart, which is the ego, and the G center, which is your identity, how defined you are in that. I'm not at all. I'm a chameleon. The solar plexus is for all your emotions. So it tells you if you're having big emotions, if they are your emotions, or if you're channeling them from another person. I'm completely open in that area. So it means when I get onto this emotional roller coaster ride, that it's not actually mine. It's either like amplified from another person. So like the neutral emotions I have that are like, yeah, I'm happy, I'm content, I'm good. When I get like really big emotions and like really energized, it's usually because I'm in the energy of somebody else and helps me bring it out more. Or I'm hanging out with somebody and take on their emotions. And then I come home, I'm like, why was I so this and that? And then I come home and I don't feel it anymore. Because I just borrow those emotions. I am like a sponge for that. And that's also where you can learn more about your boundaries, including energetic boundaries, where you're like grounding yourself, you're asking yourself, is this mine? Did I take on this type of advice, this type of emotion? And so you can get back to yourself. That's what I love about human design. And yeah, so that's really, really cool to learn more about yourself in that way. And so like I have this project going on about reading about the different planets and lines which tell you about your purpose and the way you show up and the way you overcome obstacles or the way you react when there's something that's off, like with I think Saturn, if you're off and you need kind of reawaken, recharge, or just like tough love. You look at your Saturn, and there's the unconscious and the conscious one. Let me just drink something. My throat is getting really dry. This is not wine. This is tea. For anybody who's wondering, because I get people telling me, this is wine. Why are you drinking wine? I'm like, I don't ever drink wine. Anyway, so yeah, that's why I love human design, really. Oh, I wanted to tell you about environment. I don't think I have it in this one. I have multiple of these books because it's just so much when you start diving into it. Sorry. Which is why it's actually, I think, really beneficial to have a human design reader to help you figure it out, because it's a lot. It will be overwhelming. It sure is. So I've been doing it for a year and I keep learning new things and it's still blowing my mind and I need time to process this. But yeah, I learned about environment, which is one of the ways these arrows in the chart show up. They basically tell you if you're more like a left or right person, and left is more strategic, I think, and right is more intuitive, artistic, creative. And so I have both in different manifestations, right? And so for me, there's the environment, which means how you respond and work the best depending on your surroundings, how that affects you. Like there's mountains, there's caves, there's beach, and I'm markets, which means I need to be in the midst of things, in the midst of the bustle. Like you would imagine like a big market, right? There's all of these vendors, there's all of these products, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of going and coming. There's maybe an open space. So it's a lot of interaction, but there's also then your arrow telling you left or right. And some numbers. Don't ask me, I'm not an expert, but I'm at internal markets, right? And so that personally for me means I do like the big hustle and bustle, but I like to be detached from it, and I like it smaller. So like big conferences, for instance, will definitely overwhelm me because of my ADHD, sensory overload. But also I thrive the best when it's these small like workshop like setups where I can engage with different people, but in a small setting that I feel much more controlled in how I can engage and how I can use my energy, so it doesn't just spread out and be thin, or I can like lose it a lot because people can be energy vampires, especially if you don't have a defined sacral. It's really, really easy to be constantly drained, right? So yeah, so like learning about that makes so much sense because I love showing up online. I love talking with people. I love networking, but in specific ways. Like my way is like I need one-on-one conversations, maybe really small workshops where I can just give a presentation. We do a more practical approach, like co-create together, overseen by me, especially when it comes to like photo and video and that. That's where I really thrive, when it's like these small setups, so they can maybe ask me questions, but only like a limited amount of time. Because again, like I said, manifestors hate questions because that's a responding thing. We're here to show and do, and not to constantly react, right? We're more like these closed bubble solitary figures. Yeah, and learning that also feels much more validating because then you don't feel like weird about it. Because again, society will tell you to be this way or that. So usually they will tell you you need to be responding to everybody. On social media, you cannot have a community and not respond to all the comments, not slide into the DMs. You know, there's all of these tips and tricks online. And usually the main thing for everybody is like, cut out all of the noise, check in with yourself what works for you. And sometimes you don't know, so you try it out and then you do the check in again with yourself and then trust that you make the decision. You can always change it, it's fine. But pick something, like pick your preferred social platform, stick with it. How do you actually like to engage with people? Do you just do lives without engaging? Do you just do maybe one-on-one calls? Maybe you do group calls, maybe you do Facebook groups and you do like challenges in there. You know, like everybody's different. And so like generic business advice never set right with me. It makes absolutely no sense in my mind because we're all so different, have different paths, different skills, different preferences. And it's cool. Like you can tell people to show up online and do videos. Like that's my preferred way of showing up and actually learning about people. Like you are talking to somebody or you see somebody and you get a really good picture of what they're like if you want to work with them. Watch a video. You can see the way they talk, their body language, the wording they use, how fast they talk, and you can see if actually you like it, you resonate with it. Because you can't just start with somebody, you're like, oh, I want to work with you, but I need you to talk in this way. I need you to not have an accent. I need you to speak slower. I need you to never cuss. I need you to, like, if people come with you with like certain expectations and demands, it's just not a match. Who are you to like tell people how to cater to you? There's a lot of people who already are like that. Go find them. Don't bother other people, right? And so like a lot of business advice is actually like that, very prescriptive, very demanding, which is why I hate it, right? I hate it. And also like, you know, some people really want to have a strategic, structured, predetermined coaching experience maybe, while others do it more intuitively. Like I'm currently more veering towards helping people really express themselves and stepping into their creativity and curiosity, which then is amplified in your business because you are your best brand. You are the most unique selling point there is because nobody has had your life experience, your skill set, your unique design, and all of that, you need to put out there and be proud of. And that can be the hardest part, I think, because again, the noise, you feel comparisonitis, and you will have people definitely slide there and maybe troll you or maybe tell you how to do things. Or sometimes they mean well and they're like, oh, I would suggest this or that. And so I like to be like the big sister, giving the energy of like focus back on yourself and then figuring out who you are, what you want to do. And I usually do that through creative exercises like photo and video. And I love like what I'm offering now is basically just a consistent mentorship where we do creative virtual photo shoots together. So you have a fun exercise every month where we do maybe self-portrait photo shoots, but you don't do it by yourself because it doesn't really give the energy. It might be good content if you know what you're doing. And I do my own self-portraits all the time and I know what I'm doing, but it's just not the same as if there's even somebody just present. Like they don't even have to be like assisting you, but even just the energy that you bounce off, like for instance back with human design, everybody has a different human design, everybody has different defined parts which give you the talents and your strengths, and then there's a lot of open gates and open centers, which is what it's called. And if you look at charts from your friends and your family, often you find that either you're very similar or you complement each other. So basically you complete the person of your chart because they will lend the energy that you lack, and they will like help get your energy that they don't have, and together you are like complete in a way. And so that's this beautiful synergy that human design helps you create and find and be. And so I like doing that in my business where I can lend people my energy from my passion, my intuition, my defined root center, which is for movement and energetic and having also energy, but not quite as the sacral beings. And that way I can really get people out of their heads, because I know what that's like. My head is constantly on, constantly commenting. It's exhausting. But when you are creating, you're really in the middle and there's somebody else, your brain will shut up for a moment. I really like that. It's just like interacting, coming up with new ideas, new angles, and just like hyping each other up into these cool, playful sessions where you then actually have amazing photos. And I will also edit stuff very creatively, very artsy, almost like into a painting. So the goal for me is to help women really see how epic they are, because I will take that energy from the photo shoot and basically translate it through how I felt and what I saw in the person, but make it visible to a person, which is great if you want to manifest something, like actually have the physical proof, or if you just want to overcome your imposter syndrome because you have irrefutable evidence of your greatness. I always like to call it like queenify, because sometimes I would just get my models to be in front of a white wall in a bed sheet, and that's it. And then I will just like make up elaborate scenarios where I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a queen now and you're declaring it's National Pizza Day. So what is the major topping? What's your queenly topping today? Whatever. And I just make up stuff so people are like caught off guard. They will be thinking about the playful scenario instead of just, do I look cute? Like, should I pose like this? Should I smile more? What do I do with my arms? Like you do in photo shoots. You get really self-conscious and it shows. It shows so bad. And so I like to just distract people and just get back into the curiosity, playful. Like, let's just mess around. Maybe no expectations, even if the photos turn out bad, which they will not because I'm in charge. But even if they were to turn out bad, you would still have had fun. And that will like spill over to whatever you're doing afterwards. Like if you just need a break in the day, like a play date, like a breathing, like a downtime, and then you get back to answering emails, whatever. But you will have a better vibration. You will feel better about yourself. You might come up with new ideas because your brain is still in this explorative mode. like just creativity, because like as adults we usually forget to be playful, forget about being creative, and a lot of people actually also tell me, oh, I'm not creative. And even if you're very left brained, very analytical, very strategic, you're still creative. Everybody's creative. Every kid is creative. There's just different ways to manifest that. You can be creative in engineering. You can be creative with mathematics in some way, like there's always new formulas being discovered and new ways to combine things and reach new equations, whatever. Like I'm definitely not a mathematical person, even though I got A's. But no, I'm not. But creativity is just often viewed so very limited in artistic pursuits, but that's not creativity. It's bigger than that. Anyway, so I just really like to bring back that spark in business and all of that. And so circling back to human design, everybody has a different way of how that expresses. Maybe through words, maybe you need to talk, maybe you need to write, maybe you need to show things, maybe you need to assimilate and analyze knowledge and then create a different way of delivering that. There's all of these different ways people can show up creatively, and human design will give you a guide on how to do that. And you can try it out, which is called living the experiment. So when you just read your chart, you have it tell you what it thinks you're best at and how you express that in the best way. And then you just try it out, try it on for size, experiment with it, just live the experiment. And then you can just see it like at the end of the month. Maybe you do it for a month, and then you can check, how did it go? How do you feel about it? What would you like? What would you want to adopt? What do you not want to have? Again, you don't have to take it as is. It is not like telling you how to do things. It's just telling you what would work best if you followed it, if you want to live more in your authenticity. And you can take it or leave it, right? A lot of people almost make it sound like a cult, like, oh, you're this type, I cannot work with you. You need to do it this way or that way. Like, no. Let's not go to the extremes, please. With any kind of modality, like, let's not be so extreme in astrology, anagrams, numbers, types, preferences, like, no. But yeah, so like that's basically my little hype talk about why I love human design, what it does for me, what it can do for other people. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. I didn't look at any of the comments. Maybe I should do that real quick. Like I said, I'm a manifestor. I don't respond. If I get interrupted, like I will maybe be thrown off my train of thought, my flow, whatever. I just wanted to share my excitement. This wasn't any way to engage anyway. So yeah, somebody subscribed. It's really cool. And asked if I manifest. Yeah. I mean, technically we all manifest. It's just more how mindful you are. What I currently really want to manifest is having aligned clients who really want to have more of a creative approach in their business, not open to more of an intuitive guidance and kind of collaborative approach to figuring that out. Because like I said, I'm more of an intuitive splenic type who can read a person. Almost feels like a projector, I guess. But like I talk to a person one-on-one, which is the 4 line. Like I'm a 4/6, so that means I'm more of a small community networking. It's called the opportunist. I don't like that word. Yeah, so like a small scale person, and I talk to people, and when they tell me about their business, their mission, whatever, their life, I will see a movie in my head. I'm a visual person. Like my brain will always show me things in movies, which is why I hate when people describe gory things, because I will see that. I do not want to see that, and I can't watch horror movies because it will keep playing in my eyeballs. Yeah. Anyway, so I am visual. So like when people talk about, oh, I kind of want this branding in this way, and I kind of want this vibe and these emotions to come up, I will film and edit the stuff in my head, and it will play, and I will like readjust as we progress in the conversation. And then I'll be like, I can give you this brand trailer already. Like, this is the opening sequence. This is how we shoot this thing. Like, this is the foreground. This is the background. This is where the call to action is. This is where we have a talking head. This is where we have B-roll. Like, it's there in my head and I can create it. But also, or if it's a photo shoot, like I will see, okay, these are the photos we need to encapsulate that feeling, that emotion, that goal, and then translate it into content, how you repurpose. And all of that is really important because I'm always thinking about the big picture view. Like I've had people, like in the past, I worked with people who just came with me for like spot fixing. Like, I have all of this random footage, make it into a video, please. I can, but it doesn't really make that much sense to me. Because if you have a specific goal in mind, if you want to scale your business, if you want to get people on your newsletter, if you want to advertise your product, all of that would be a different type of video. The entire video would be cut differently, even if you give the footage. The approach would be different. Like there's more information I need to actually reach the results. And so it would make more sense to me to start from scratch. Like, where is your brand headed? Where do you see yourself right now? Who do you want to work with? And then work it backwards. That's my neurodivergent brain. And then I will tell you, okay, I need exactly this opening sequence and you film it in exactly this way. And then I need these things from you in a talking head video where you just talk to the camera and talk about your business. And then also because I've been doing social media content for 10 years, I will keep in mind, okay, we need these SEO keywords. So you need to weave that into your talk. I will need these things to repurpose in that vertical way. Like, I can come up with the most creative cinematic videos for storytelling because I'm a storyteller, but it needs to be practical. It needs to have the end goal in mind. So it needs to be like a holistic branding and marketing experience that makes sense for me. Like that's my approach where I'm like, okay, we can make the videos, we can make the photos, but why? It's always my question. Like, what do you need it for? Like, what's it supposed to be doing? Because that will change the entire approach. So like what I want to manifest are clients who are open to that co-creative, open dialogue and to the process of you want something. You kind of know where you want to go, but you are completely letting go of the how you're going to get there, and actually also the end result. Because what I found is I make plans, I have the storyboard, I have the video guidelines in mind, or the photo or whatever, I have references, like a mood board, and I have the vision in my mind. But as I create it or co-create it, I will come up with new ideas. Like, what about this? Like, let's just throw this in. And then things will always not work out. Like something will always go wrong when you do photo video. It's just a rule. And that usually it helps me come up with different angles. It helps me come up with an entirely new way to work around the problem. Because, an obstacle is just a new way of making yourself see the thing, like a different shift in perspective, which helps me be more creative, think outside of the box due to necessity, but that's also where I thrive. And so basically the end result will never be exactly as I pictured it. It will be better. I just don't know how, because I know things in the moment as I do it, right? And so I need clients to be open to that. But it also makes it more fun, more playful, less rigid, and comes again with the curiosity. So people who value playfulness, curiosity, and creativity, and kind of want to work with me on a long-term basis, because we're always evolving, we're always changing. And that's beautiful if you can constantly honor that and play with that and discover that if you're on that journey, because having like a big rebrand every 2 years doesn't feel realistic, doesn't feel authentic to me, because by the time everything is already figured out, you already changed. Right? So like it doesn't make sense to me. So like that's another thing I want to manifest. Answering that question, I want to move for a while. When I move, I mean like 3 months. I want to go back on the road being like digital nomad, because I create online. I even do my photo online, right, with virtual photography, which means I just need my client to have a phone and Wi-Fi, and I can take photos of them regardless of where I am. It's beautiful. It's so cool. And they can take me with them traveling. They have their on-the-go photographer. Like, how cool is that? And I want to move to Seoul for a little bit. I really miss it. Maybe LA, London for sure. I have concert tickets for London in summer. I'm so excited. I'm going to see Stray Kids. And I will, what else will I manifest? I really want a project where somebody commissions me to do tarot cards, but in photo. Because what I realized with my virtual photography, when I do the edits, which again, like I said, makes them look more like a queen or a goddess or a fairy, or whatever their vibe is, right? So like I use my chaotic, wild interpretations and creativity, but tailored to the person. So like it's really about their essence and just my way of reading that and interpreting that, you know? Because sometimes people confuse that. They just see all of my wild self-portraits or portraits of other women. They're like, I want to work with you, but I don't want it to be this extra. I want it to be more this or that. And then maybe that they're not even a match if they want just a regular, straightforward branding shoot. There's so many people who do that brilliantly. I can do it, but like I'm more of the wild creative person. But no, it's tailored to every person. Like some of them I make into beautiful Disney villain types, and others are like a pirate or a queen or a fairy, or just like looking straight up like an editorial shoot, but with a twist, right? So like it's always about the person. It's just me channeling my creativity to aid the vision about the person. And then I think it would work really well to interpret that and marry that with a tarot card, because there's so many people who do intuitive, more spiritual guidance for other women. And with virtual photography, you can actually capture the transformation and then do it regularly to check in with yourself, infuse yourself with creativity, but also to actually have a visual representation of what you are in the moment. And when you look at it side by side, which is what I sometimes do with my own self-portraits, I can see the transformation. I can really feel the difference in energy and the difference in confidence, which is why I then started offering that to other people, women specifically. And I think that would be brilliant to work with coaches, you know, to have like that aid, that creative tool in their tool set while they do their coaching and their approach, but also have something physical for the client to show the transformation, to feel the transformation, and to actually, you know, work with their subconscious. Because, you know, if your neurons tap into the photograph, if you watch photographs, there's like studies on that, how it can help you reactivate memories, be more in your neuroplasticity when you constantly re-engage, because you can relive the moment to an extent when you look at photographs. You know, when you look at old photos, you can remember the moment. You can feel back how it felt in that moment. You can see people's emotions on faces and tap into that precious memory, which is why I love photography, which is why it's so important to have photography of yourself and of your loved ones, because sometimes that's the only thing you have left. Very bleak, but true. And oftentimes we don't have photos of ourselves, especially if you're the designated photographer in your family or if you're by yourself. And so that's sad. And yeah, so using photography to actually connect with yourself, capture emotions, capture memories is great. And having that also like paired with not just a print, but like maybe own tarot cards or motivation cards or playing cards or any cards, like where it's an artistic portrait, you know, with like maybe I paint something, because I also sometimes draw on photos, you know, draw dresses on there, draw elements, accessories, plants, whatever. Again, it's intuitive. I don't know. But then you could basically frame it. You have your own portrait. Like you can order these beautiful oil portrait versions of photos of yourself. Sorry, I don't do that. But I also work with like vintage illustrations and layer them. And so far, nobody has accused me of like AI, making it look like AI, because I don't do that. But I feel like there's a lot more blurry lines nowadays that people accuse a lot of artists of, oh, this must be AI. But did you know that AI just stole artists' work in the first place? Anyway, no, but it's just like really personally interpreting a person and just layering out elements and creating a cohesive new art piece. and that would just work brilliantly as a like tarot card. So like that would be a cool thing I want to work on. I want to manifest. Oh, and another thing I really want to do, I want to do more fashion shoots and concert photography, because I realized when I go to concerts, I love it. I'm not a festival person. It's too much sensory overload. I also like the comfort of having an actual room to retreat to. Not a fan of toilets on concerts. Ew. Anyway, but when I'm like in the middle of it, I always have this moment where I'm just like, just not exactly dissociating, but like I love the music. I'm vibing with the crowd. It's really cool. And then like I feel like thrown back, and I just realize I'm in the middle of this crowd. I'm watching artists I love. I'm listening to live music. Like just being very meta in the moment, being very like in my body, but also like an outside of the body experience. And I love it the best when I actually have a camera to capture, again, how I feel in the moment, to capture the movement, to capture a freeze frame, but interpret it through my lens. So it's not just, I mean, photography always is the interpretation of the artist behind the lens, right? So it is always subjective in that way. But I like to add more layers to it. I really do like editing, right? And it helps me also take in the experience in a different way. Like for me, especially because I keep saying it's a lot of sensory overload, it helps me really focus on specific elements. It helps me ground myself and capture the experience, but also capture how I feel about it and show it to other people so they can understand my brain. That's generally why I love photography and videography so much, because it's a way for me to translate what's going on in my brain for people to understand, because my words never suffice. So yeah, do more concert photography. That would be great. Fashion photography. I want to go back and shoot at some fashion weeks. Haven't done that in a while, but it's cool. I really love fashion too. Yeah, so that's what I want to manifest. That's been a long video. So thank everybody who's watching. Somebody wants to ask if there's a Q&A coming up. There wasn't, but I guess now is a good time if you want to ask me questions in regards to my creative work, human design, whatever. In that way, let me know. I don't answer very personal questions, just setting that out there. But if you've got any questions, let me know. Any other questions I didn't see? Any questions? Because otherwise, I would just go make myself lunch. I don't know if you heard, but like my tummy is very in need of food, and very audibly so. Yeah. No questions? All right, cool. Then I wish everybody a fabulous day. Stay creative. Wait, there's a question. Do I use a camera for virtual photography? No, it's just your phone. Because virtual photography is basically you have an app on your phone that allows me to remotely trigger your camera on your phone. So it can switch around between front and back cameras. Like somebody else is using your camera app on your phone, but only in the app. Like it's not that I can like access your phone other than that. And then the app, like the apps are that I use, Shutter app, and that's free. Also Close app, it's also free. You can do it with friends. It's really fun, like when you need somebody to take good photos, when you're traveling with a person who doesn't know how to take good photos. You can connect with your best friend, like with a video chat, like, look what I'm doing, like, look at this cool place. Sometimes you do that, right? And then you can actually have them take the photos for you. It's such a relief because you can then be hands-free. You can go somewhere and you can just look cute instead of just always being like, how do I look? How do I look? How do I look? It's so annoying, right? So like it takes forever. So having a virtual photo shoot is really fast. So like no camera for virtual photo shoot, only your phone, which is why I always say your phone shouldn't be older than like 2020, because it will affect the quality of your photo, obviously. And then depending on the light, it will make the photos less or more good. and then also like the photographer knowing what they're doing, because it's limiting. Obviously, I can't reach through the screen and adjust your camera. So in a way, you also learn through my directions. Like you also learn like what the photographer is looking out for. Like I always found it was really interesting when people shoot in their homes, because you can do that. You don't have to leave your home for new branding photo shoots. Don't have to go to a studio. Obviously, the quality of the camera work is totally different. Like it doesn't replace studio photography, but it makes it more accessible, more flexible. And it's great for introverts. And so when I shot in people's homes via virtual photography, I was like, I love this part of the couch. I love the way your window reflects light or throws the shadow. I like this plant, move this plant, do this thing. People saw their own space in a totally different light. They didn't expect this corner to be cute or that thing to be cool for interacting with. You get this kind of creative co-creation and also a different way of seeing things because you are used to your space. You don't even see it through fresh eyes anymore. And so that's really cool when you learn something also about maybe even how to frame the shot. When I'm like, tilt it up more, turn it to the right and left. And because I always shoot with the regular camera, not the selfie camera, my clients never see themselves. Wait, my headphones just turn off. Why? Yeah, so you see yourself differently, and it's really fun because that way you have a fresh perspective, obviously, but also, yeah, our hands off. Now I'm losing trail. What else were the questions? Do I use camera? What are beginner tools for virtual photography? Like I said, Shutter app, Google it. Don't look in the app store. I don't know why. Maybe they have bad SEO, but I really can't find it. I have it on my website if you want to look that up. It's just my name.com, AnneMarieStrahl.com. But Shutter app, right? Google it, Shutter app. It is in iTunes, not iTunes, in the Apple Store and in Android. It's free, download it. Or Close app, which is CLOS. Should I put it in the chat? Do I have a mess? Do I have a chat? I think so. Anyway, so wait, do I have a chat? I don't see. Damn it. Shutter app and Close app, CLOS app. So those are free and you can just play around with it. You can even do it with yourself, when you just connect, because the photographer will have the connection on their laptop and the person who is being photographed will do it on the phone. So you can connect your phone to your laptop. Just make sure you turn off your sound. Otherwise you have this terrible, terrible high-pitched noise because of the technology interacting, whatever. And yeah, you can do it by yourself and play around with it. Or maybe you can enlist a friend and do it with yourself, or you can like hire me to do a photo shoot. But that's really it, it's very easy. It's just using your phone. But what the app also gives you is more control over the light. So you can make it darker, you can make it lighter, you can adjust if it's an autofocus and where it will focus, multiple points, one point. It gives you a grid. So like a bit more range than a regular camera tool would give you. If you want the photos to be shot in RAW, if you like professionally edit your photos with like Photoshop or such, then you can use a paid version, but you don't need that, right? Especially if you just want to start and get into it. Yeah, it's just a different tool to take photos and it's only your camera, so it's static, which gives you another like creative block in a way, like a creative obstacle to learn more how to use what you have without the dynamics of just moving camera around so much, like, because not everybody has the photographer vision, obviously, or knows how to frame things. So it's a great way to learn that and to control that and to use what you have. I don't know, like a creative tool. That's what it is. And yes, the apps are all free. They're all free. Like I said, Google them. Don't put them in the App Store. They are in the App Store, but hard to find. So Shutter app and Close app, they're free. Yeah, it's really cool. Any other questions? I just realized there's this weird filter on it. But yeah, I like virtual photography. It's really cool. Like the longest distances I shot, Let me just pull it up real quick because like I wrote it down because it's wild when you think about it. You can be on a different continent and still do a photo shoot with somebody. Like how crazy is that? Um, where is that? Wait. I know I have it somewhere. Because I did photo shoots while I was in Germany, right? Most of them. I think all of them I took while I was in Germany. The farthest one has been South Africa with 9,350 kilometers, which are 5,809 miles apart in the exact photo shoot. And I actually managed to project manage the entire thing. Like I got a location, like a really cool Airbnb with a pool. I got a model. I got a local South African designer to provide the dresses. And then I did a fashion shoot from this very desk. How crazy is that? And the photos were then featured in magazines. So that's pretty cool. And that was just with a phone, right? And it's technically not a new thing. Like it peaked, I guess, during the pandemic for reasons of necessity. And a lot of like I contact a lot of magazines, with my work, and they're like, "Oh, this is nothing new." I'm like, yeah, I'm not here to reinvent something. Didn't make this up, but it's the way you can utilize this tool. Like you can utilize your lenses for your camera is the way that makes it unique and different, right? And also a lot of normal people who are not in the online space or photography space, they don't know about it. They don't know it's a cool thing that they can have. They don't have to go shuffle over to a photo studio or like wait until they have this big project coming up, especially if you're a content creator or like you create content for your business and you have to show up all the time online. If you have somebody just take the photos for you real quick, like 15-30 minute sessions are usually already enough to have like a month full of content. And you can have somebody do that real quick for you in your office, in a conference, maybe even on a trip. Like I did this, like with this one model, she was traveling. Where was she from? I don't know. I think was she from Canada? Anyway, or Russia. It's totally different, I guess, Russia. But she was traveling Italy. So she was going around Positano, like this beautiful hotel covered in flowers overlooking the ocean, and then this beautiful hotel in the mountains. So she basically took me on a trip. And so we did a couple of shoots at different locations. So we had, flexibility. And so you don't have to completely plan this big elaborate photo shoot and go travel to these places when the person's already going to the places and you just need the Wi-Fi. That's the most important thing, obviously. Because like Wi-Fi in Europe can be very spotty, especially like a mountainous zones in Italy. That was a challenge. So like all of the ocean view shots we planned, they fell through. It didn't work. So we did it in the garden anyway. That worked out. Also looked pretty. It helps you be flexible as well and challenges you creatively. And that was 887 kilometers away. I was 800, or in miles, it's 551 miles during the exact shoot. Like, how crazy is that? You don't have to be in the same room with your photographer. It's so fun. How did I get into it? Yeah, I had I'm part of this networking group called Affinity. It's for women. And there was this one photographer I connected with because I always love to connect with other photographers. And she was like, yeah, I do virtual photography. I'm like, tell me more, what's that? And so she was like, yeah, here's this app, you can try it. And I did. And then I fell in love with it. And I contacted a bunch of people online and models and advertised I want to do more like test shoots. And then I got all of these photo shoots in like New York, in Italy, in Ontario, Canada, all over Germany, even like San Francisco in the US. And, I love it. I love how it can give me the creative challenge of using exactly what they give me because they can control the camera, right? Like the person is always in charge. They can even turn off the camera. So it's, for people who are like concerned about their privacy and what they share, like the app doesn't make me control the phone camera outside of the session. You can close the session anytime, right? So like that's important to know. And yeah, it gave me such a variety of locations, of people, and it allowed me to not having to travel to any of the places. Like, that's sustainable. That's really good, environmentally friendly. You have people already in locations, and you can be like, oh, I want to stress on this type of model and like this type of body and this kind, variety of people. And you don't have to constantly move or shoot and like lug your equipment around. But also, it's a really cool way to be creative with other people, to network, and meet other creatives, because my favorite way of bonding is really through creative pursuits. Like, I really love just taking people on walks and then take photos together, because I don't know, like, I love that. I guess like photography is my love language. And I've been doing virtual photography now for a year, I think. Yeah, it's been a year. I think like around this time last year, I was introduced to the concept. And so I've done a lot of photo shoots after that. Like in the 3 months following that, I did like, I don't know, almost like 20 shoots, just virtual shoots. That was a lot. But yeah, so now I can, what I do before, regular photos, video editing, travel writing. And I still do all of that. It's just like an additional thing I do now. Yeah. Because, like I said, virtual photography doesn't replace regular photography. It's just a different way to do it and adds its own benefits. It's really cool. Any other questions? Wait, there's another question. I mean, I'm currently taking questions on my lives. See your comment. Okay. No, I don't see your comment, John. Wait, yeah. In 3 words, describe my live stream channel. This current one, because every live I do is different. This current one is about human design. It's a compound word. I count one. Human design, authenticity, creativity, and virtual photography. There you go. I think these are like 6 words, but I don't care. That's what this is about. Yeah. And any other questions? I guess now we're talking about virtual photography. Like I said, all of my live streams are very stream of consciousness. Live stream. Cool. All right, anything else? I don't even know if you can hear my stomach rumbling. It's getting bad. I need to eat something. So I need to verify that I'm still being live. That is new. Has it been that long? Maybe that's what it is. It's like, are you still alive? I'm like, yes, I'm alive. I'm talking. Hello. And where are you from? I am from Germany, and I currently am in Germany, but I work globally, location independently, digitally. And I used to travel a lot for different gigs, and I lived in multiple countries. I've traveled to 40 different countries so far. And yeah, currently based in Germany, but I kind of want to change that because I like to move around every now and then. It helps me be creative and be in the flow and get new impulses, and also like meet people, Human design, authenticity, photography, yeah, and creativity. You need to add that, John. Am I woke? Yeah. Hope so. Working on it. Any other questions? No. No more questions, and I'm gonna go. Lol. Why you want to know my age? What doesn't matter? I'm in my 30s. All right, any more questions on like virtual photography or human design or any of that? No personal questions, please. 50. Are you 50? Is that what it is? I definitely am not 50 and I don't look it, if that's what you're implying. Mm, what do you want me to tell you more about virtual photography? AI. Also, why you're calling yourself AI. I don't know what to talk about virtual photography. I said everything. It's just a really cool way to connect with people, work all over the world, and with different people in a way that expands your limited ways of doing the thing. You know, you don't have to travel places. You don't, um, yeah, you don't have to be in the same room with people. And I think it's also a great way to actually incorporate like travel. Like basically, I like to say it's like selfie 2.0 because you're technically by yourself. You're still taking a selfie because you're just by yourself. You set up the camera and then the photo gets taken like on self timer. But because another person does it for you remotely, it's not really a selfie because you're directed, you're being framed. There's like somebody else applying the knowledge onto you and guiding you. So basically, you don't have to think too much. And that's, I think, the most important point for me personally when it comes to photography, to get people out of their minds and into the experience, because it's already kind of awkward enough when you go and have a photo shoot, because a lot of people get very self-conscious. You know, you're like getting really aware of your body. What do I do with my hands? What do I do with my face? Do I smile enough? Do I do a power pose? And then the energy just feels off. Like, you know, most people are not professional models. So they don't have that repertoire of cool poses. And even if you are the photographer and you show people the poses, first off, you can't really control in the way they do it exactly. Maybe they don't feel comfortable with it, or it doesn't feel natural, and then it won't look natural. And so what I find with virtual photography, because I don't have people see the screen, so basically you don't see anything what's going on. You just hear the voice of the photographer, but the photographer looks at your phone like it's a live video, right? So it's this weird imbalance, where it's like a video call for me as a photographer, and it's like a phone conversation on speaker for the other person. And so it's really weird when you are doing a photo shoot and you just have your phone on loudspeaker. And sometimes I did a photo shoot like next to a road because there were like all of these cool graffitis, and I had my model do like jumps and cool things. And then people were walking by and they only heard me shouting from the phone, like, you know, my instructions and tips and whatnot. And it would startle people, which is kind of fun because, yes, it feels really awkward when you do photo shoots in the wild and people observe you. But because I keep just talking and talking and coming up with different ideas, so you're busy reacting to it and responding in the way that helps with the prompts, it actually becomes hilarious, right? So like doing a photo shoot with your bestie, even if you do the weirdest things and contortions, it will still feel fun and not as self-aware as you would do with maybe a complete stranger and, you know, exposed in the middle of a square or whatever. If you're just vibing in the moment, your energy is different and it will translate differently. If I were to tell you, oh, like do a power pose, be like a strong boss, you would be like, ah. But if I were like creating a scenario like, oh my gosh, you started a new business, it's the best cheese crust pizza in the world, and you have the secret recipe, and you're like speaking to your new employees about this new, oh, I don't know, like I just make stuff up as I go, and you're like embodying this person, you're like imagining how that person would feel, and like now you're just speaking to like 100 people and you're grabbing the railing and you're like propping up your arms, and as you are doing that you kind of emit a different energy and different vibe, and especially when you have somebody else lending your energy, like I always just get like really excited, really pumped, and then people kind of take on that energy during the shoot. So like you have a different way of people actually showing up in the photos. Like it's really important to keep talking. It's really that, you know, otherwise people feel lost and weird because they don't know what the heck's going on. You can only hear the clicks, like me being like you know, like a crazy person. I always go like 100 shots an hour, whatever, and that's like for real. I take like 100 to 200 photos per hour on average, because, you know, it gives me more control of more stuff I take, there's more statistical likelihood of me having a good shot. It's different in real life when you can like time it better, because there might be a delay in the virtual photography. So I take more shots than is necessary, just to be safe. And yeah, keep talking to the people. So like it's really, really fun in that way. It's this weird trust exercise, like a photography trust fall. But it also is like silly. And I think we need more of that in our lives, right? We are so serious as adults. And that's like a fun way to break up that day to day, that monotony. Yeah, that's how I approach my virtual photography. How do I communicate with the photographer? Through the app. It's like a video call. Only you don't see the video. The photographer sees the video. It's like a conversation on the phone. That's what it is. So it's all done via the app. Like the app is like a camera app on your phone, where the photographer is on laptop, sees all of the different adjustments they can make, or press the shutter button, right? Like in your camera app, you just press the round button, boom, the photographer does it on the laptop. And you just set up your phone, and then you just look cute and do whatever the photographer says. You can hear it on loudspeaker, or you put in your earphones, you know? That's how that works. Yeah, just go try it out. Like with the apps, like I said, they're free. Shutter app, Close app. And then you just connect it, download it on your phone, download it on your laptop, connect with it. You get a number or a link. And then you can be like, you know, like any video call, like you video chat with your best friend, like you go a Skype call, Zoom call, whatever. It's the same principle. Only a person remotely can press and record what your camera sees on your phone. That's really what it is. And I don't know why it's really hard to grasp, because like I didn't quite get it. But when you do it once, it makes sense. Like it's so obvious when you just do it. Just go do it. Which sounds, I don't know, like a lame explanation, but it's what it is. Like it's like a video call. Is graffiti cool though? Oh, you're debating about graffiti. You know, there's graffiti in the murals. Graffiti can be art, but a lot of it, like I don't like tagging. Tagging to me isn't really artistic. It can be looking very horrible, you know, especially if they're tagging over a beautiful mural. You know, some people contract graffiti artists, and yeah, it's just like a big canvas with like different tools. It can be like paint on canvas, you paint in Photoshop, you can paint on walls. It can be super beautiful. Tagging, I'm not a fan of. In some ways, it can look kind of cool, especially if it's already like abandoned buildings. They can get a different vibe to it, and you know, but sometimes it just looks scrappy and very egocentric. Like, why did you have to mark this? It's like, you know, like dogs pissing at a pole. Like that's sometimes how graffiti feels to me. There's a place for graffiti. It can be really cool. But yeah, not that destructive. Can I take a video of a shoot, take it home, and then pause it? Go try it and tell me what you think. It will look horrible. Because the thing is, when you take a still from a video, usually, because most cameras record like 24 frames per second, which is like 24 pictures in the second, which are combined, you know, like a flip, when you like draw in your pages and you flip through it and it looks animated. That's what a video is. And I mean, if you shoot in like 4K, it has more frames usually per second, sometimes like 30. But to then pause at the exact frame where you have a clear image, because like now moving around, like if you stop that, you will have blur. You do not have the crisp image unless you just like do videos like this. Like you stop, but even when you do stop, you know, you're never 100% still, because we're humans, we're like moving. And a camera, you know, depending on your settings, can get a really clear image. A freeze frame, right, is different than an actual freeze frame of a video. So yeah, it's not the same. And then when you can edit it, obviously, but you can tell. You can tell if the video, if it's a still from a video versus still photography. which is why, when you have movies, you can have a trailer and beautiful photos, and then there's a still photographer on set of movies to take the promotional footage, and it might look like it's a still from a frame, but it's a real photographer, because it's, even if this the most elaborate video camera, you can tell if it's a video still or if a photo, totally different quality. It's in the pixels, it's in the clarity of the lines, in the camera, the colors. Yeah, it's totally different. I mean, if you could just make that your own art. Like, you can just be a photographer who takes stills from videos, but then you have to approach the video differently to keep all of the technical aspects in mind. But these free apps also record video. No, Close app records video remotely as well. Like, they can remotely press and then direct you. Shutter app doesn't do that yet, as far as I know. So yeah, so you can do photo and video remotely. So that's cool. I have, yeah, because I'm streaming on TikTok and YouTube at the same time, because I have 2 cameras set up. So that's who I'm talking to, like different people on different platforms. It's like, now I'm talking to this person, I'm talking to this. Murals of people like George Floyd. All right. Yeah, just murals of like some restaurants have murals of like different scenes outside for ads, like to set up a space, like maybe draw palm trees or whatever, or murals of like famous people, or just murals of abstract art. Like some cities like Philadelphia have so many murals all over the city. A lot of it commissioned. And it just like adds a different flair to the different district, right? It adds a bit of dash of color, especially if there's just all of these high-rise buildings. It gives back a little bit more of humanity and creativity, right? Like, if you have a lot of nature in places like, I don't know, like London. I really like London. There's a lot of beautiful buildings in the city center, but then there's also areas where are more like ugly buildings. But they don't really have that many murals. Like, they will get rid of it, or maybe sometimes there's a Banksy. But it kind of also lends character to cities. If it's done right, if the city planning is actually more involved. Because sometimes cities just remove everything, which can be really sad as well. So like, Banksy is a really cool graffiti artist for sure. And Paris really has really cool graffiti artists, and a lot of them are like plastic, like 3D artists. I remember there was this one around the small, I think 11th, which is like the district. There was this person there was multiple. Like, one of them always had like these Tetris, like bacteria kind of figures, but as like a 3D like object pasted on the walls, on the lampposts, on the ground. Like, you can spot them everywhere, different shapes and different forms. And that was basically their signature. Instead of like a weird ugly tag of just letters, they had these symbols, and it's kind of fun to like spot them everywhere. And they don't really like blend into the city, but they're like more like a little bit of a footnote of like a fun game of hide and seek. And then there was one person who had like giant nose and ear plastics that they taped onto random buildings, and in like weird places, so like you wouldn't necessarily see it right away. So it's really, if you're just curious and you're like looking up or looking like at different details and different like hidden nooks, that you find them as like a little Easter egg. So like, that I think is really cool street art that lends something different. Because most people, when they walk around, they don't actually look or view a lot of things. They don't really see a lot of things. We always kind of shame kids, don't look up, like, don't be head in the clouds kind of kid. But I always was that, and I saw so many cool details on houses, ornaments, on all of that stuff that you wouldn't see if you just like look straight ahead or on your phone, right? So like, art can help you expand your horizon in that way. Yeah, street art including. And question, yeah, I painted my wall. So yeah, that's a mural, if technically, I guess. I painted this abstract sunset or sunrise, whatever you wanna. And then there's other things in my room, like there's lemons for my kitchen. There's some abstract shapes. There's like, my bathroom is all of like pink palm trees because I like to paint. I'm an artist. I do all kinds of art, photo, video, drawings. Next photo shoot, can I say to my model, stand in your power? Sure, yeah. But what does that really mean, you know? Because that's a phrase, like if you haven't really talked about what that means to a person, like stand in your power can also feel very much like left field, or like, what does that mean to a person? Like for me, I find these kind of discussions in virtual photography sessions interesting to kind of lure that out of people, because your answer can change, or your feeling of that can change week to week, day to day, moment to moment, right? And so I like to lure that out in the process. Like, what does it mean to stand in your power? Where do you feel like, if you close your eyes, what is your happy place where you would feel warm and fuzzy feelings? Maybe it's a beach, maybe it's your grandmother's home, maybe it's your bed, like maybe it's with your best friend, right? And so what does power mean? Is it like being assertive and dominant, or is it being secure in yourself? Is it being following your heart? Like there's so many aspects. And so it's really cool to, you can ask that as a prompt. What does it mean to stand in your power in this moment? Is it like closing a deal? Is it getting a promotion? Is it starting a business? And then explore that, and like, what does it feel right now to you? Can you express it? Can you feel that? Can you show that in your body? Like, where would that feeling maybe even sit? Like, if you get more spiritual, how would that feel? Would you have like a glow to you? If you like close your eyes, what would your energy look like? Is it gold? Is it yellow? Is it sparkly? Is it warm? So that's a way to do it, right? Stand in your power. What does it mean? Explore that in a photo shoot, and then use that energy and guide your model. And for me, then also that informs me how I edit the photos. What colors I use, what color grading I want to apply. If I want to add any more elements to it, maybe sometimes I add some watercolor spray, maybe some gold texture to lend a bit more artistic like depth or elements to it. Sometimes I added flowers in to, get a bit more of a textured multimedia look. All of that. But yeah, that's definitely a prompt. What else? Okay, another question here. How often do I go live? There's no number. Sometimes I never go live a month. Sometimes I go multiple times, depending on how I feel. I can't say how often. Not very often. I try to change that, but like, again, I can't promise anything. Okay, what else? AI will make 95% of graphic designs and photographers redundant. Yeah, maybe. But then, so we thought it would, like, the internet and computers and robots would make people redundant. The thing is, AI as it is still pretty shit. And it's very unethical at the moment. Like, most of it, what it feeds on is just existing work by real people. And then it just smashes it together, emulates it, kind of computes it. And you can tell, like, I don't think most people are very literate in AI, and it's getting better and better, so it's getting harder to do that. Like with the deep fakes and all of that, it gets really murky. But well, it first off needs new input to create the art. Otherwise, it will just feed on itself, which it already does to some extent. It keeps corrupting itself. I don't know if you've seen all of the weird Jesus AI stuff popping up on Facebook, and then it becoming its own AI robot commenting amen on that stuff. Like, it's just already its own best audience. Which is why a lot of the AI now is regressive, and we get these, we now have AI videos, and you can see it's AI videos. There's such uncanny valley. It's so horrible. It's like they had this ad. What was it? No, it wasn't Nike. There was this sports ad, I think. Who was it? Was it Adidas? And what was it? I don't know. There was this weird ad which looked like it was in a desert, and then suddenly there were rockets, and then suddenly they were wrestling, and it made no sense. And that was a real ad that an agency developed with AI, and they were touting it as like, oh my gosh, we like created this video without humans, as if it was actually a lot of work, like good work. How do you replace human ingenuity? Because it cannot be creative. It can just emulate a feeling, and you feel I don't really feel anything when I look at AI. It's just like it looks cool, but there's something missing about it. And the question is like, why do we even need AI for art? Shouldn't robots and technical artificial intelligence actually help people to be more in their creativity and to live a good life instead of just taking away the fun of it? Shouldn't we like optimize like repetitive programs, like machine work, line work, repetitive work, so people can be more in their power and create and come up with new ways and new programs and collaborate and innovate? Like, I feel like the use of AI is completely backwards. It should be so we can create more instead of it taking over the creative work. Like with people when they come to me like, oh, everybody can do photos now. I have a phone. I'm like, yes, but do you know what you're doing? Do you know how your photo lands? Do you know what the lighting, the composition, the colors, the video pacing and sound and all of the effect it has? And AI can generate it to only to some extent. Yeah, it can't replace it. And I know a lot of people will try to do it. A lot of agencies are already doing it. Yeah, if that's what you want to, if companies want to do that, fine, whatever. But I don't think it will completely replace people. It would just make people lose sense of it and just become a bit more numb to the quality and importance that art is, which a lot of people already have. Like, I miss the times. I miss the times as if I lived there. But like, you know, in the 19th century, like the Renaissance man time, where you just had like rich white people in Europe, men, had this thing where they, coming of age, they would just travel Europe and then go to the art museums and go like be completely hedonist and just like follow the pleasure around and follow art and beauty. And that was the entire purpose, just to soak up all of the beautiful art around Europe and mingle and meet and like party. You know, and people were actually the socialites were the ones who were dabbling in all of different kinds of disciplines. They were doing art, but they were also doing a bit of science, and they were doing writing, and they were doing music. You know, they were dabbling in all of this, and people really, really loved the arts. Like humanities was like the shit. And then the Industrial Revolution came, and now we're all into like IT and optimizing and technical stuff. So like it all comes in seasons and stuff. Um, so yeah, I kind of miss where people valued that. And especially like during the pandemic, people were like, oh, we essential workers obviously are, you know, ones who keep people alive and fed. But even then, people didn't appreciate art. But everybody needed the art to keep sane. Like, what was everybody doing? They were binging stuff. They were watching movies. They were hanging out on social, looking at photos. And we need art. Art is storytelling. Art is something to connect with your heart. And so you can't replace that with AI ever. I mean, it feels like completely empty dopamine if you want. And sure, you know, a lot of the media trains us to consume a lot of empty media anyway, but for those who actually want more and are more mindful, AI could never replace it. It can be a really cool tool to add on to like to generate storyboards and ideas and fresh angles, but then you still need the human to interpret that and make it real. You know what I mean? Like that's why how I feel about AI. It can be really, really dangerous too with all of the deep fakes and a lot of dodgy uses for it. So it needs to be regulated really, really bad. All right. All right. White people in Europe, how rude. How is that rude? There was a lot of rich white men who did the Renaissance. Like I don't know of any like typical famous Renaissance man who is of color. If there is, and educate me. Like that would be great, but I didn't hear of those. Which is for a reason, because you know, racism and classism and all of that. But you know, like that sentiment for actually taking time to appreciate art and to live in the beauty should be more treasured and like, ideally more accessible to everybody. Like I always say, like the best thing that would be educational. Like I wish it was possible to send every kid at some point, maybe like when they're 18 or whatever, you know, like more adults, to go travel. Like, go travel. It's the best teacher there is, and it's such a privilege to actually do that. It's not affordable for everybody, obviously. Not everybody has a really solid, really good passport. Like, the German passport gets me into so many countries with ease. And I know that's a big, big privilege. So ideally, I would really love it if kids could go travel if they had the opportunity, because it just helps you see yourself and your culture and your world in a completely different light. It's totally eye-opening. I wish that was more accessible. So that's why I did like the concept of the Renaissance man. Just make it into the 21st century. Like, everybody should do that. Not just the rich white European men in the 19th century. Anyway, so yeah, I've been doing live now for 90 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna go have lunch now. Okay. Thank you everybody for talking to me, asking me questions. And yeah, okay, John, you were being sarcastic. Okay. Well, it's sometimes hard to tell from like a point blank comment. And also I have ADHD. I don't know always how to read people and comments because I take things a lot literally. Anyway, so thank you all for tuning in, for sticking around. I'm really hungry now, and I wish you a fabulous day. Bye bye.